Karoline Leavitt is not very good at her job. Her lies backfire, blow up in her face, and ultimately just humiliate her boss, and so she must resort to his tactics, which is attacking anyone who's telling the truth, which is what we saw her do today during a press briefing in which she spent about 3 minutes straight attacking a reporter for the leak out of the Pentagon that they shared, humiliating Donald Trump and, of course, Karoline Leavitt as well. We're going to get into it all, but I first want to start with Karoline Leavitt being confronted over a topic we haven't spent nearly enough time talking about lately, and that is Donald Trump's big, ugly bill and his cuts to Medicaid.
There's conversations on the Hill right now about the Medicaid cuts. I'm curious if the final bill that the president's been talking about comes to him and it has Medicaid cuts in it, will he sign it, or would he rather just Congress do away with those cuts?
I think our friends in both the Senate and the House know exactly where the president stands on Medicaid. He wants to get rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse, and they are working to do that in the Senate right now. Jennifer.
Follow up on that.
So, of course, the non-answer from Karoline Leavitt is a very clear answer. Yes, Donald Trump will be cutting Medicaid. He does not care that the promises he made to make your life less expensive are going to be broken because, by the way, they already were broken. The guy put the most idiotic tariffs, started the most idiotic trade war. We've known this from the start. But what's so important about these cuts to Medicaid is that the numbers we're using aren't actually reflective to how just extraordinarily damaging these cuts will be. It's not just people getting kicked off healthcare, it's what the broader effect is. And Chris Murphy broke that down in a very important clip that we need to check out before we get to Leavitt's meltdown.
So just about an hour ago, news broke that this Republican bill is going to include a $15 billion slush fund for rural hospitals. Okay, now why is that? It's because they know what's going to happen when they pass this bill. They know that it's not just that 15 million people are going to lose their health care. There are going to be hospitals and health care clinics and mental health addiction centers that are going to close their doors. So this bill doesn't just impact you if you lose your health care. This bill impacts you even if you keep your health care, even if you keep your Medicaid. Because when you withdraw $800 billion from the Medicaid system, the system starts to collapse. And so what they're doing now is they're going to set up a slush fund to be able to keep their hospitals open, right? To make sure that in the states of those senators and representatives who voted for this bill, maybe they'll be able to keep the services going. But if you're in a blue state or a purple state, good luck, because that slush fund, it isn't coming to you.
The ripple effect of everything that Donald Trump does is so wide, but unfortunately in the news cycle that we exist in, we only have time to see the splash and the plop, and then as the ripples go out, we kind of turn our heads to something, because something else terrible is always happening, but we don't realize that now it's not just that Donald Trump is trying to rip tens of millions of people off their health care, but he will be crumbling healthcare infrastructure around the country. That'll be the damage. And nobody is talking about that. And so I'm so glad that Senator Murphy is pointing it out. But of course, there are so many stories to pay attention to, like, of course, the one that had Karoline Leavitt so mad, the leak that was reported by CNN out of the Pentagon. And she spent about 2 whole minutes just attacking this reporter. Take a look. It was insane.
I will add Natasha Bertrand of CNN, who has done this in the past. In 2020, it was Natasha Bertrand who had 51 intelligence analysts falsely lie to her, but she still put it on paper for some reason, that the Hunter Biden laptop story was Russian disinformation. We all know that's not true, right? We can all agree on that now. That was a lie from the intelligence community. Also in 2020, this same reporter, Natasha Bertrand, wrote that a top intel agency ruled out the man-made lab leak theory of the coronavirus origins. Again, the president was right about that. This reporter wrote a lie from the intelligence community to seek a narrative she wanted to prove, and guess what? We now know that's the truth. Also, in 2024, Bertrand pushed the suckers and losers hoax. She also pushed the fine people hoax, which was taking the president's words purposely out of context. And then last October, and I believe this is notable, Natasha Bertrand published an article in Politico from the intelligence agency. She said that John Ratcliffe was speaking without any evidence when he said Iran was attempting to undermine President Trump's presidential campaign. And then we, of course, found out that was absolutely true. In fact, the Biden administration declassed an intel report which said they had high confidence that Iran had done exactly what Ratcliffe alleged. They did run an influence campaign to hurt President Trump's candidacy. In fact, we know the Iranians tried to take President Trump's life. And so this is a reporter who has been unfortunately used by people who dislike Donald Trump in this government to push fake and false narratives. She should be ashamed of herself. And that's not what reporting is. Journalism is trying to find the facts and the truth. And this week, we saw this same reporter being used to push a fake narrative to try to undermine the President of the United States, and more importantly, the brave fighter pilots who conducted one of the most successful operations in United States history. And I think the American people fully know that this operation was a complete and total success.
I've said this a couple times, but I think it's important to come back to it. Karoline Leavitt and really everyone in the Trump administration, we saw this from drunk Pete Hegseth this morning as he was like tears rolling down his face. They're coming at this from a position that it is unpatriotic to point out that this was an unsuccessful operation. And the main reason it was an unsuccessful operation, very important to point out, is that the strike was not just designed to obliterate, which it did not, the nuclear facilities themselves, but also the enriched uranium that was there. But because Donald Trump was posting days in advance, telling people to clear out of Tehran, they were able to move the uranium. So it didn't accomplish anything that it set out to in this mission because of Donald Trump. It is not unpatriotic to say that. It is quite very patriotic to criticize the most unpatriotic president we have ever had. So we're gonna. And of course, they're gonna try to spin it around, which is what Karoline Leavitt attempted to do, because apparently the most important thing for the president to focus on is Zoran Mamdani. Just take a look at what she had to say.
So it was a great meeting, and Republicans are very unified. And we also talked about the mayoral race in New York City and how the victory of the Democratic primary candidate really shows how far left and unhinged the Democrat Party has become. And Republicans truly are on the right side of every issue in this country. We are on the side of no men in women's sports, on the side of low taxes, secure borders. So that was the topic of discussion, and the unity was strong and the camaraderie was high, and I know everyone looks forward to being here at the White House for the bill signing.
If Republicans think that they can find success attacking Zoran's agenda, they've got another thing coming. Yesterday, Fox was attacking him for wanting free baby baskets for newborns and for the buses in New York to run on time. If that is your big gotcha, ooh, the scary socialism, you've got another thing coming, MAGA. Because not only does Zoran have maybe the most aspirational agenda we have seen out of a Democrat in recent years, but he also can deliver it like no other. Anyone who watches this show knows how much I love Zoran, and I love that we get to see him more in the mainstream media, like he was on Jen Psaki breaking down his agenda last night.
Let's talk a little bit about the path forward here, because you still have to win a general election, and that is going to be hard fought, which I know you know. You were on track to defeat Andrew Cuomo. He called you to concede. Afterwards, a couple of times, he seems to have floated this potential plan or consideration of running as an independent. Are you preparing for him to run as an independent in the general election, or do you think it's possible he could drop out entirely before next Tuesday?
I think that everything is possible in this race, as we've seen over many, many months. And ultimately, we are prepared for taking on whomever our opponents may be in November. Because when I started this race, I started it running against Eric Adams' second term, running to finally have a city government that sought to resolve the affordability crisis, not exacerbate it. And when Eric Adams dropped out of the Democratic primary, it was Andrew Cuomo that picked up the mantle of that second term. The same donors, the same corruption, the same small vision funded by big money. And we have now defeated that vision in this primary, and I'm prepared to defeat that vision in the general, no matter who it is that's carrying it.
If Andrew Cuomo drops out, he had a lot of big money backers. Do you think they're going to big money back Eric Adams? Is that what you're preparing for?
I think that it's possible. I also think that we have found exactly the way to defeat organized money, which is organized people. We're speaking about a scale of a campaign that we haven't seen in the city in a long time. And ultimately, we believe in a politics of no translation, one that is both direct to the struggles of working people's lives and also delivered directly. And there is nothing more direct than a New Yorker knocking on another New Yorker's door. And that has been such a key part of this campaign's ability to break through more than $30 million in opposition spending, where New Yorkers were blanketed with attack ads, whether it be when they were turning on their television, their radio, opening their mailbox, or even just watching YouTube, and we were still able to triumph over that.
Both Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, obviously two Democratic leaders that have had some, I guess, nice things to say, I could describe them as, about you, but didn't endorse you and still haven't endorsed you almost 24 hours after Andrew Cuomo called you to concede. Why do you think that is?
Well, I appreciated both of their remarks, both their acknowledging of the focus of this campaign on affordability, and also with Senator Schumer having worked with him closely to deliver close to $500 million in debt relief for thousands of working-class taxi drivers, as well as successfully defeat a proposal to build a frack gas power plant in my district of Astoria in western Queens. And I think what we are seeing in this moment is an understanding of the mandate that New Yorkers have given us to deliver on this affordability, and also the fact that we will wait a few more days to see the actual final results of this, although we know that we have won this race even without the assistance of ranked choice voting.
I don't think endorsements win elections necessarily, but there's not a lot of proof of that in history. But do you want their support, or do you not care if they come out and forcibly endorse you?
I want their support, and I want the support of any leader across this city and this state and this country, because ultimately what we are looking to show New Yorkers is the fact that this is an ever-expanding coalition. It's not one that is trying to keep tabs of when people join this fight. It's one that's looking to actually deliver on this fight. And what that means is ensuring we use every single tool at our disposal to freeze the rent, to make buses fast and free, and to deliver universal child care.
I really do believe that Zoran is the biggest blow to Donald Trump's regime since he was inaugurated. I truly do believe that. Not just because he will be the mayor of the biggest city in the country, standing up to Donald Trump's ICE raids, which have targeted New York City and have been allowed to be carried out because of Eric Adams, the criminal mayor of New York currently, but because Zoran represents something that we have been lacking in the Democratic Party, which is not just the oppositional view of Trump, which people know, but is the aspirational, the joyful vision of what government can be. The right completely co-opted the view that government is broken. Government is broken. Things do not work as well as they should. But that doesn't mean we should get rid of it. It means we should make it better. And that is what Zoran has proven out in his time in state government, and what he will continue to prove and succeed and set the blueprint for the rest of National Democrats as mayor of New York City. There is still a general election left. We have to continue to fight. If you are a New Yorker and you want to get involved with his campaign, go to Zoran for New York City, I believe is the link.com, or you can just look up his name. It will pop up. But please continue to stay involved. We are certainly going to be advocating on behalf of my favorite Democrat on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.